Da sind die beiden. Kommen Sie ein bisschen zu uns, please move over. The storyteller and the honorary awardee. To say you invented the Sustainable Development Goals is a huge thing, but you have been the one who came up with this idea first, and you had to struggle to realize what you did. What do you feel now when you encounter the SDGs logos everywhere in the world? Is it kind of an inner smile, or do you miss sometimes more credit for that?
No, the SDGs were a process that many, many crafted and brought together. I might have been the seed, but very slowly we were able to really build this great conflagration, if you will, and to get everybody to sign on to them. So I feel very, very encouraged when I see the logos everywhere. But I'm also very impatient because we think that just because we accepted and adopted the SDGs, the fight is done. And that was just the beginning. The SDGs were a complete revolution in how we understand and think about development. Even before the Paris Agreement, this was the first universal agenda. The first time it was said that every country, no matter what its status, no matter where it is, has a responsibility to act and to take on targets. And that was a revolution. So now I'm impatient because I want to make sure that we implement the SDGs with that same revolutionary, that same transformational spirit. And that's still waiting to happen.
Günther Bachmann, Geschichtenerzähler, Mentor des Deutschen Nachhaltigkeitspreises, unser Juryvorsitzender von Beginn an. Where did you meet? Where did you get to know this story that you have told us?
As you know, I'm interested in the people behind the stories, the big stories about transformation and systemic things. There must be somebody who initiated this. And I looked very carefully over years. And then I met Paula in New York at the UN, where we both sat on a team of experts on the UN reform, and that was the point where I discovered that there's a deep source for the questions we have when we do not take the SDGs as a given.
What was the hardest thing, the highest hurdle, to put it like that, you had to take? What was the hardest element of your struggle?
The hardest element was to convince enough people that the impossible was possible, because everybody said that the SDGs could not be done. And I was very fortunate because I had a vice minister who from the very beginning, when I proposed this idea, understood the ambition and supported it. And that's Patti Londoño. She's here with us.
You worked? It was in Colombia in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs?
Yes.
Where are you working today? Did you turn your back to politics? What is your profession? What is your work today?
Well, we said that the SDGs are about implementation, about radical ambition and implementation. So I decided to go back to the field. I'm now implementing and making impact on the ground. I work with an NGO called RARE that for 40 years has worked on behavior change and sustainable development with some of the poorest and most vulnerable communities. Because this transformation that we've all signed on to, it begins with changing in behavior, with changing our values, with changing our mindsets. I always said the SDG 18 was behavior change. So that's what I'm doing now, trying to get into people's heads and hearts.